Is a goal-scoring drought about to turn one of the NHL's most reliable defensive centers into the ultimate playoff bargain for a savvy contender? In the brutal world of professional hockey, offensive production dictates salary negotiations and headlines, but defensive responsibility wins championships. That's the paradox at the heart of one of the most intriguing trade scenarios developing right now. Despite enduring the statistically most difficult season of his career, former Montreal Canadiens fan favorite Phillip Danault has become one of the hottest names on the trade market. According to exclusive reporting published in the last 14 hours by analyst Michael DeRosa, based on information from insider Frank Saravalli, multiple teams have contacted the Los Angeles Kings to inquire about the 32-year-old veteran's availability. For the casual fan scrolling through box scores, the interest might seem bizarre. Phillip Danault has 0 goals in 28 games this season. 0. That's not a typo. A player who's built his reputation as a reliable two-way center hasn't found the back of the net once through nearly a third of the season. But for general managers assembling playoff rosters like complex puzzles, Danault represents something rare and valuable. An elite defensive asset with Zelka Trophy pedigree available at a massive discount. The question now isn't whether he'll be traded. It's which team will have the courage to bet that his offense will wake up exactly when it matters most. Let's establish why Los Angeles is willing to move him, because context matters. Danault's tenure with the Kings has been mostly successful since he signed as a free agent in 2021. He's been a stabilizing presence, a reliable shutdown center who could be counted on for 50-plus points while handling the toughest defensive assignments. But this season has hit a wall, and it's not a small bump. It's a catastrophic collapse in offensive production that's impossible to ignore. The numbers are genuinely alarming. In 28 games, Danault has registered just 5 assists and 0 goals. For a player who scored 50-plus points in his first 2 seasons with Los Angeles, this isn't a cold streak. This is a complete offensive shutdown. His shooting percentage has cratered. His offensive zone time has decreased. Every metric that measures offensive contribution shows significant decline. For a Kings team trying to balance their salary cap and rejuvenate their lineup, moving Danault while he still has name recognition and defensive reputation makes strategic sense, even if it's painful. Age is also a factor that can't be ignored. At 32 years old, Danault is starting to lose that half step of speed that separates good players from great ones. The NHL is a young man's game, and while defensive centers can remain effective longer than pure scorers, the decline is inevitable. Los Angeles is looking at their roster construction and seeing a player whose best years are likely behind him, carrying a contract that could be better allocated elsewhere. If they can move him now, before his value completely evaporates, it's a smart business decision. But here's where this story gets fascinating. If Danault can't score, why is the phone ringing off the hook? Why are multiple contending teams expressing serious interest in a 32-year-old center with 0 goals? Because Phillip Danault does the dirty work better than almost anyone in the league, and that dirty work wins playoff series. The article highlights that he's well known for his strong two-way play. That's corporate speak for something much more valuable. Danault can shut down elite offensive players in ways that few centers can match. In the playoffs, when games tighten up, when space disappears, when every shift matters, you need someone who can go head-to-head with Connor McDavid or Austin Matthews and not get destroyed. Danault has built his entire career doing exactly that. Ask Toronto Maple Leafs fans about the 2021 playoffs, when Danault's line completely neutralized their offense. They still have nightmares. There's also clear reason to believe Danault can recover from his slow start. He's posted at least 43 points in each of his previous 4 seasons. This isn't a player who's forgotten how to play hockey. This is a player going through a rough stretch, likely compounded by confidence issues and perhaps some bad luck. The bet that contending teams are making is simple: a change of scenery, reduce minutes moving from second-line center to elite third-line center, and the pressure of a playoff race will unlock his latent offensive ability. And even if it doesn't, his defensive value alone justifies the acquisition cost. The market analysis nails why teams are circling. It's completely understandable that clubs are interested. Danault has the potential to be a beautiful addition for a title contender looking to improve down the middle. Think about what that means in practical terms. You're a team like Colorado or Edmonton, struggling with defensive depth at center. You acquire Danault for a reasonable price, slot him into a third-line shutdown role, and suddenly your matchup flexibility improves dramatically. Your top centers can focus more on offense because Danault is handling the defensive assignments. That's the kind of depth that wins championships. For Montreal Canadiens fans, watching Danault struggle is bittersweet. He spent 6 seasons in Montreal from 2016 to 2021, posting 194 points and a +47 rating. He was never the flashiest player, never the one making highlight reels, but he was consistently excellent in ways that don't always show up on the score sheet. His peak came in 2018 to 2019 when he posted 53 points, but it was the 2021 Stanley Cup final run that cemented his legacy. That playoff run was special. Danault formed a line with Brendan Gallagher and various wingers, creating one of the most suffocating defensive units of the decade. They shut down elite lines night after night. They won crucial face-offs. They blocked shots and killed penalties and did all the unglamorous work that allows skilled players to shine. When Montreal made that improbable run to final, Danault was a massive reason why. He wasn't scoring highlight reel goals, but he was preventing them, and that's just as valuable. Could there be a reunion? The reporting focuses on league-wide interest, but it's impossible not to speculate about Montreal. If the price is low, maybe a late-round pick or a recyclable contract. Would Kent Hughes bring the prodigal son back to teach defense to Kirby Dach and Nick Suzuki? Probably not, given the organization's focus on youth and development. But Danault's leadership and defensive acumen are exactly the kind of culture elements that Montreal values. It's a long shot, but stranger things have happened. So, who are the likely suitors? The report mentions multiple teams without naming names, but we can make educated guesses based on needs and roster construction. Colorado Avalanche desperately needs stability at second or third line center. Their depth down the middle has been questionable all season. Edmonton Oilers. Ironically, the team Danault helped shut down in that 2021 playoff run, could use him to close out games defensively. Boston Bruins always value defensive centers in the Patrice Bergeron mold. Toronto Maple Leafs under Craig Berube would love a player with Danault's tenacity for their north-south system. The beauty of Danault as a trade target is the price. Because of his offensive struggles, Los Angeles can't demand premium assets. They're not getting a first-round pick or a top prospect. They'll be happy with a second or third-round pick, maybe a mid-level prospect, just to clear the cap space and move on. For contending teams, that's an absolute steal. You're acquiring a proven playoff performer, a defensive specialist with championship experience. For pennies on the dollar, the risk is minimal. The upside is enormous. Critics will point to the 0 goals and argue that offensive production matters, that you can't win if you can't score. And they're not entirely wrong. But playoff hockey is different. Playoff hockey rewards teams that can defend, that can win face-offs, that can kill penalties and protect leads. Danault excels at all of those things. If his offense comes back even partially, if he can contribute 15 to 20 points over a playoff run while shutting down the opponent's best players, he's worth 10 times what he'll cost to acquire. Phillip Danault may have temporarily forgotten how to score goals, but he hasn't forgotten how to win hockey games. His availability on the trade market is a test for NHL general managers. Who values preventing goals more than scoring them? For Los Angeles, it's a chance to exit a contract that's aging poorly and reallocate resources. For the team that acquires him, it's a bet that when the puck drops in April, when the games matter most, Danault's experience and intelligence will be worth more than any regular season statistic. The market is heating up. Multiple teams are interested. The price is reasonable. All that's left is for someone to pull the trigger and add a proven winner to their playoff roster. Phillip Danault might not light up the scoreboard, but he might just be the piece that helps a contender hoist the Stanley Cup. And isn't that worth more than any goal-scoring streak? What do you think? Should contender take a chance on Danault despite the offensive struggles, or is the risk too high? Would you want to see him back in Montreal, or should the Canadiens stay focused on their youth movement? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and smash that like button if you think defense still wins championships in today's NHL.